How great would it be to get up close and personal with the beauty industry heroes we love and admire, and to ask them, how did you learn to do what you do? I'm Chris Baran, a hairstylist and educator for 40 plus years, and I'm inviting all our heroes to chat and share the secrets of their success. Do you find making six figures or even seven figures a year absolutely extraordinary? Well, listen, today's guest that I have I do call him the salon owner extraordinaire. Here's some of it. He has Muse Salon out of the Atlanta area, one of the fastest growing salons in the country. He himself does seven figures. That's $1 million with zeros if you're doing the counting. He's been trained by some of the industry greats, Luis Longueras out of Barcelona, Jacques Dessange from Paris, Charles Worthington out of the UK, Franco Corletto out of Rome. He is a L'Oreal professional educator, salon-centric ambassador. You probably already know who I'm talking about. His celebrity clients and clients come from all across the country, and they seek him out for his skill from what I call the Daniel touch to the experience. He does celebrities such as David Duchovny, Demi Moore, Amber Heard, Lauren Hutton, and John Travolta, to name a few. He is what I would call a hair branding, social media, and leadership guru. So let's get into this week's Headcase. Daniel Mason Jones, my friend, I am humbled, honored to have you on board with Headcases. So welcome, buddy. How you doing?
Hello, and thank you. I'm honored to be here. When I got the email, I was like, of course I'll do this.
Well, I know, just as an FYI, I remember we've had conversations for so long that said we want to do something together. And I know the universe has got lots more planned for us, but I want to make sure that I'm making valuable use of the time for the people that are watching and listening here. I just want to find out, before we start to get into some of the fantastic stuff that you've been doing, what is it? Your history? I read little. I've been doing a little research and saw about embalming and funeral home and how that led to it. Tell us a little bit of the backstory, because I think so many hairstylists don't. We don't often start off as hairstylists. We migrate into it.
Sometimes I often wish, I wish I had that cool story. It's like, oh yeah, I went to beauty school in high school and it was a vocation and I came out with a license. That was not the case. For me, I definitely got my career in beauty from the funeral home. So from the time that I was a little kid, I knew that I was going to work in a funeral business. I was going to be a funeral director. And I ended up getting into the funeral business quite young. I started volunteering at 14. They hired me unofficially at 16. And just as I continued to work, I ended up moving to Atlanta, Georgia, and doing an apprenticeship and going to college here. And so I had served two internships, one for Georgia and one for the state of South Carolina. Mm-hmm. And Chris, I realized the people that I was working on in the funeral home looked really good. So I did not enjoy all the aspects of being around the dead all the time. So someone told me that I should be a hairdresser, and I just kind of explored it just out of curiosity. And here I am almost 23 years later.
Wow. I want to go back just for a second there. I'm sure that many people are wondering, so a lot of people get up in the morning or they're 12, 13 years old and say, I want to be the president, an astronaut, or whatever. Where was it? Where did that come from? The spark that said, I want to get into the funeral business. I have a good friend of mine who was in that as well.
Mm-hmm. I wish I knew that answer. From the time that I was very, very small, my mom said when I was around 3 years old that I would take my Hot Wheel cars and I would line them up as a funeral procession and even put the policeman in the front. So maybe I was morbid or deranged or just innately had a calling to serve people at a different degree.
I'll bet it was the latter. It was the latter, because I know you.
People. And in all honesty, I had a lot of loss the very first couple of years of my life. So it seemed like all of my grandparents passed at the same time. And so I was surrounded by that, and there was no way that you could escape it because your parents are inundated with all the things that happen around that. So right. I do remember the funeral director, even though I was almost 3, I was just days away from being 3, pulling me aside. I remember there was a couch in the room where we were, And he explained to me that my grandmother she was an angel now. And so I think maybe he was a hero in
Wow.
some form. And so maybe that started it, but I'm not sure.
Wow. Well, that's what I stuck out to me there was how that she became the angel. And, because I know you so well, and right now I know that you're the angel that's the purveyor of all that happiness to other people. So
You're
it's
very
great to have you on board. So I want to take you now from okay, you got into hair.
yes.
What were you like as the student? Were you which half? Were you in the bottom half, the top half? Were you shy and reserved? What was that?
Well, funny there too. So I actually did not get to go to beauty school properly the way that most people do. So I went through a very unconventional way of going. I responded to an ad in the paper here in the Atlanta area, and it was to do an apprenticeship. So here in the state of Georgia, you don't have to go to beauty school; you can do an apprenticeship.
Uh-huh.
And so I responded to this ad, and lo and behold, I was hired. The lady that answered the phone that day in the salon had a very, very thick Spanish accent. I could hardly understand what she was saying. So I asked her, I was like, "Where are you from?" And she went to explain that she was from Colombia, South America. And so I started speaking Spanish to her, and she goes, "You speak Spanish?" And I was like, "Yes." She goes, "You're hired." So sight unseen, I think they were probably desperate. And but the gentleman that owned the salon there, he actually owned the beauty school in Atlanta. So he allowed me to work there, and he gave me my free curriculum. So I would get to go to school on Mondays. So I was kind of like the pop-in student. But if I had to answer top of the class, I've never been that kid. And I've always had challenges learning. I remember trying to learn just basic layered haircut and how frustrating that was for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe I shouldn't do this. I'm going back to the funeral home. But anyway, it all worked out. I did fail state board 3 times, interestingly enough, though. So it took me a little while to get here.
Well, now, did you put that down to, was it just difficulty? I mean, I know there's so many people in our industry that have everywhere from extreme to slight forms of dyslexia or different learning abilities. Did that transpire in school as well? Is it?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm on the bus with dyslexia and ADHD. So
Wow.
I got the 2 fun ones in there.
Yeah.
However, a lot of people are like, when they hear their children diagnosed with those, it's like they're devastated. I'm like, listen, once you figure out how to harness your power and
Right.
learn to learn in your own way, there's not, I mean, conventionally disability maybe with how I learn, but I can learn in very different ways, and now I know that maybe I don't have a disability the way that other people would deem it. I think it's great.
Well, that's the unfortunate part is they call it a disability when it sometimes worked out to your advantage.
It's like
I know that even I have.
actually.
I was never diagnosed, but I believe that I have a slight some form of dyslexia or some kind of learning disability because I can't read real well and understand all of it. I have to go back like 20 times to understand it.
100%,
Which can be really frustrating when you have people like my son is partial photographic memory, and I have like about a 5% of non-photographic memory where I can't remember anything. Anyway, listen. So that's amazing. Now, how you got onto there? You got onto working into the salon. Now, so many people don't get that. All of a sudden, you can go from a salon to now. There's this leap where you're this incredible figure with L'Oreal Professionnel teaching. You're ambassador of Salon Centric, doing videos and teaching and helping people along in business. How did the transformation happen to you to go from the chair to being on a platform, a stage, even if that was started off with 1 or 2 people to start with? What happened in there?
So being an educator was something that I would have never even thought about it, honestly. I know some people wake up every day thinking, I want to be on a stage and be an educator. The thought never crossed my mind. In fact, if I'm going to be super, super honest with you, Chris, I used to get so nervous speaking in front of people that I would get really tight in my chest and I couldn't breathe. I almost had those vibrations in my throat. And so it was a lot of anxiety around that. And there was a day that we had just opened our salon. So just over in the 18-year mark, actually just over 18 years. And one of the educators that was in our salon, she goes, "You really should consider being an educator." And I said, "I can't think of anything worse." And she goes, "No, really, you have a gift and you need to share it with people." So I remember going to my audition. I was scared to death. And under my breath, I was actually just saying, okay, let me just bomb this audition, because if I do, then I can say that I tried it. But then there's like an excuse, because I'm not a quitter. So I was
Right.
like, if I just bomb this, I didn't bomb it. And I'm not sure how, because I dropped everything everything went into the floor that day. And then I was asked to go onto a large stage in Dallas, Texas. And I remember that event so well. It was for state RDA. I walked out on stage, and it was a new launch with L'Oreal Professional. And I remember I was so nervous and seeing all those people staring at me. And I'd heard people say the old cliche, like, pretend the audience is naked. I'm like, I can't even pretend that I have oxygen in the room right now. I'm going to die. And so when I got off the stage, I was like, yeah, I don't ever want to do that again. And, I always use this quote. I think it's from Buddha: when the student's ready, the teacher will appear.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that I was ready, and I couldn't see the things that I had to offer people. And I had grown up in a community where modesty was taught. We should always be modest. And
Right.
so whatever gift I might have had, I'm like, I should keep it quiet. And I've always been able to connect with people, and that was my superpower.
Yeah.
So Andrew Bartfield was our manager at the time with L'Oreal Professional, and he invested in us and sent us to a training. You may know her, with Carol Lydon Smith in Tennessee. And I got there for training 1, which was all the American team, and I made it through barely. I was like, this is torture, because you had to get up in front of people and facilitate and act out scenarios, which I wasn't good at. And but when I came home, she had awakened something inside of me. And so then group 2 was allowed to come back. And there were only 2 people from the American team that came. The rest were Canadian. And then I went back for group 3, in which I was the only American in the room and was with all Canadians. And so I got to be around people that I didn't know. They didn't know me. They didn't have any preconceived ideas. And I felt that was easier for me in that time. So it really was the right setting. After that, everything exploded. I learned to harness my power of who I was and to stand in my own power. And when I did that, Chris, you know this, you teach this, you've done this to me and to thousands and thousands of other people. When you pour into somebody and they believe it, you can transform their life. And that was exactly what happened. So Carol and her family, they poured into me and they said, Daniel, you have to do this. And then Colin Ford was from Canada, and Colin says, you have to do this. And I remember seeing him we all created our vision boards together. His vision board was that he would become a global director for L'Oreal Professional. Chris, 6 months later, he did it. He got a call to go to Paris. And it was so surreal that I got on an airplane and flew to Paris to celebrate him. And just because we had bonded in that group. So I would say to anybody listening or watching this, find your tribe of people that make you feel better, not the people that make you feel insecure.
Yeah.
Because when you pour in each other, you'll find your purpose and passion.
Yeah. Yeah. That was so powerful is about finding the power within you. And it's funny, the number of people that I've had on podcasts before, I've never had one of them say, I grew up to be an educator. There was always something that happened there, somebody that pushed them, somebody that made them dig deeper than they ever could have done on their own. And I wish that there was something out there that we could recognize all of those people that might not be known by anybody else that really pushed all of us. I can remember Ted Squires, who hired me from I'm Canadian, worked for L'Oreal Professional at the time. And I was scared to death. And I remember him saying in the back of the room, hey, Chris, look up here, because I was hiding behind my clients. Or I would, I was so terrified on stage that I would never lift up and even think of talking to the back of the room. But quite frankly, there was nobody at the back of the room anyway. But I think those unsung heroes that really pushed us, believed in us, and gave us the chance, where sometimes I think that we live in a throwaway society. If you don't do it perfect the first time, then let's just throw them away and try somebody else. And I take my hat off, imaginary, to all of those people, that helped you, helped me, helped all of those other people become who we am. Because otherwise we would have been that, for me, I would have been that mechanic in the backyard just working on a car.
Exactly. And your life is transformed. I'll tell you a funny story. I've never told you this, but it's about you. So I had gotten invited to a birthday party years and years ago. And this birthday party was going to be amazing. And so I was going there, headed up to their home, and it was out of state for me. And I drove up to celebrate him, and I could only stay for a little while. And they said, you have to stay a little bit longer because Chris Baran is going to be here, and he's actually going to stay the night here at the house. And they had planned for me to stay there also. I was like, Chris Baran, are you kidding me? Like, I can't even be in the presence of people like this. So that was Brian and Sandra Smith.
Oh, right.
And Sandra was like, you'll love this because Chris is going to stay the night. And I was like, okay, I'll be leaving early.
Yeah.
Well, and now here we are, friends. So what I'll say to anybody again listening is like, don't devalue yourself, because when you do put yourself around powerhouses like yourself, you rise to the occasion.
Yeah. And all you would have had to do is see me with 2 glasses of wine underneath my belt, and it would have been a different story. But listen, and because I tell you, Brian and Sandra Smith are like some of my favorite people. And we've shared so many stages, so many times together that it's all those people that really help to support the industry. And I know that everybody has that feeling of let's support one another, regardless of which manufacturer, whether you're in a salon across the street or whatever. There's enough room out there for everybody. There's enough abundance out there that if we all live in that area of abundance, in that world of abundance, then it will give us that, as you well know, because, and I want to jump into kind of a little bit of that right now based on, I've seen you help people that turn their careers around, not only from what they do and they feel like, but financially, so that they can honor their families with all of this extra money. And I want to go into this in kind of 2 parts here. I'd like to first off, I'll start off just with talk about consultation, because I want to, everybody goes consultation. They go, oh, well, I can tune out now. Because the reality is everybody knows, I'm not saying anything new. For about the last 20 plus years, everybody that's out there has been beating us over the head. Consultation. I'm going to give a stat here that everybody knows. Everybody's heard it before. I know you know it. I've heard it. We've had other people tell us that when you talk about consultations, and they interviewed stylists and customers, they spoke to the stylist and they said, do you do a proper consultation? 97% yes, I did. And when they asked the same question to the consumer, only 7% said that they got a consultation. Absolutely. So first of all, what do you say to that stat and that response when you hear people doing, I do consultation, but yet nobody really thinks that they get one?
So one of the ways that I teach and communicate is I story tell. So if I give you a story, you don't forget it. So hairstylists, I fall in the category too. Have I always done great consultations? Absolutely not. Have I been consistent every single time? Absolutely not. Do I try? Yes. So we'll start there. And what I'll say is, if you've ever watched American Idol, everyone that was in the lines, the thousands and thousands of people singing, thought that they could sing.
Yeah.
But they couldn't. And so sometimes we need to maybe put ourselves through training to make sure that we know how to give that proper consultation. And when I teach classes, a lot of times I do those consultations where we actually break it down and role play with the stylist or with the estheticians, so that we really have those dialogue and they get past the hurdles of like, I can't say that. Yes, you can. Yeah. And I just did that 2 days ago in Louisiana, that very thing. So consultations, we may think that we're doing them, and our customers are definitely saying differently.
You said a really key word there, and that's the role play. Mm-hmm. If people would just understand that role playing is nothing more than practicing out loud what you wish that you would have said when some of those words that came out of your brain when you were talking to your client, and you go, exactly. I didn't make a damn bit of sense to me. How in the hell can I expect my clients to believe in me after that? But if you can role play, you can practice it out and get better, even if you do the same thing over and over again.
Yes.
That's the concept you're talking about. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So if you could give people some insight right now, is what would you suggest? Is there a magic thing? How much time do you suggest that you do it? How often should you do it? What's the because we always talk about it. And I'll bet if everybody's listening to, I do a great consultation right now. What's some of the pointers? If you could give somebody something that would say, this is probably something that you should incorporate if you're not already, what would that be?
So the consultation, everything, this is just my belief system. And if it's working for you to do it a different way, that's fantastic. I never want people to feel like they're being attacked by how we believe or by how they believe. We all have different ideas and values. That's what makes us artists. So what I will say is in a consultation, it should be every single visit. Even if you know that customer has had level 6 in on their head for the past 32 years, you still deserve, or they still deserve the opportunity to be asked, is that something they want? Would they like to make a minor change? Would they like to enhance that experience? Would they like highlights with the color this time? Would they like a gloss? Would they like a conditioning treatment? So in that consultation, there are literally thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars that hairstylists are leaving on the table every single year because they're scared to have the conversation. Sometimes we as humans, we get so focused on just having the conversation and telling all of our business, I got a new car, I got engaged, having a baby, I'm on my 17th divorce, whatever it is, the salon here is terrible. Whatever those conversations are, we're losing money. And so we as professionals have to stand up and say, hey, I really am a professional. What makes me a professional is the way that I conduct my business. And yes, we are business people. And even though this old tired rhetoric of the past was, I'm not a salesperson, I will fight you on that until the end of time. Every single person is a salesperson. In fact, I have a book on my nightstand upstairs right now that says to sell is human, because everything that we do is selling. I'm selling podcasts. I'm selling restaurants that I love to eat at. We sold, look, Tiger King. How did that become famous during the whole quarantine? Everybody sold it on their social media. So just the way you talk about all these things that you love, your cars, your clothes, your whatever, we need to be talking about the items that we love. And we are lucky enough, and I am absolutely of the mindset that you have to partner with a brand. Brands make you who you are. And, you can be an incredible artist, no question, on your own, independently and all the things. But without the great color line that you're using, or without the great products to make it look great, it's not going to be the same. And so all of the success that I have, yes, I've worked nonstop for over 2 decades, almost 7 days a week to get to where I am. But the brands recognize and support that. So if you have these brands in your salon, these products, you should know what they do and how they perform. I think about Sam Villa all the time. The man's a genius, right? He describes the product, what it does. He puts it in his hand, holds it out. This is what it smells like. This is what it feels like. We need to be having that in the consultation. We need to be asking them when they say, I have something in a pink bottle at home. What is that pink bottle? Where is that pink bottle from? Is that pink bottle making you revenue? And is it truly protecting their hair? So there's 2 sides to that. Consultation also, we should be having very powerful conversations today around budget, especially as inflation and recession are the buzzwords on the street. We need to ask people how much money they've allocated to their beauty needs that day, letting them know that, a partial highlight costs this, a full highlight costs this, a single process is this. So if we do these services today, you're going to be looking at X amount of dollars. Is that something you're comfortable with? And should we proceed to move forward? Because if you're not having these conversations up front, you will have them in a Google review later.
Because what I loved, and I want to go back to what you just said there, is do you want to touch up? Do you want to glaze? Do you want a partial highlight? Do you want to have those things? And even to say, that this is what these cost, because the reality is people are often ticking off. Okay, what can I afford today? And you mentioned something, tick, I can do that. Nope, can't do that. Yes, I can do this. But if you don't mention it, they're not going to, then it's just same old, same old.
Exactly.
I know we have a mutual friend in the industry, a mentor, advisor that we have, Blair Singer, who talks about that most people think that sales is doing a harmful act. And I'm going to repeat that again for everybody, is that most people think that anything to do with sales is a harmful act. And I think in our business, where we are very creative, very outgoing, we want to help people. We're servant leaders. We want to make sure that we're always helping people on this end. We think that balancing, looking after their checkbook is our job. and I mean this from the most what's the word I'm looking for? Helpful way. I can't think of another good word, but our job as hairdressers is to tell the consumer that's sitting in our chair what they need. Mm-hmm. That's our job. Their job is to say yes or no. Absolutely. Our job is not to say, no, you can't afford that. No, you can't do this because of what I think. You know, tell the people what they need. Just like when you go to buy, if I go to buy clothing, they say, here's a suit, here's a jacket, here's a pair of pants, here's a shirt, here's a tie, and so on. Like I wear a tie. But in the analogy, then they would say this, and then I'll say, well, I want this, this, and this, and I'll say, I don't want that. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'll give you, there's a store that I shop at all the time, in Manhattan when I go there, when I can afford it. But I can remember being there, and this one amazing salesperson was there. I went in for a t-shirt because I went in saying, hey, listen, do you have anything that would fit a body this size, you know, something like denim tent and awning, something like that size? And she said, oh no, we got plenty of stuff. I mean, our owner is the same size as you are. She says, let me show you some of the stuff that and she brought this out. She said, here's this. You like that? And I said, no, I want you to hear what she said. I said, she said, do you like this? And I put it on and went, oh, I love that. Here's what she said. Chris, let me put that on the happy pile.
Wow.
And then she brought out something else. And I went, I love that. Oh, let's put that on the happy pile. So, and then I would bring something else. She would set it aside. So at the end, she brought out, she said, okay, let's take a look at the happy pile again. What do you want? I went, I want it all. Mm-hmm. And naturally, I had to phone my wife for permission to get all of it. But it was, because she didn't treat it like a harmful act, and she wasn't spending my money, she was letting me say what I want. And I think that if you look at that, that total of that one cost me about 5 G's. Mm-hmm. But the reality is, think about that is when you add on that express highlight, or you add on that shampoo, or you add on that treatment, let them say yes or no.
Absolutely. I will share with you, we were at a restaurant, I think it was on Friday last week, and it was a barbecue restaurant here in town. And I've had an experience there before that was pretty impressive, but it was years ago. At that time, all of us were on an all protein diet and avoiding carbs at all costs. At the end of the experience, the waiter, his name was Wayne. I will never forget it. He was fantastic. He set the bill on the table and he said, I know you all are watching your weight, but are you sure that I couldn't interest you in a fresh, warm, homemade apple pie with a side of vanilla ice cream? All 6 of us at the table that were on a diet 4 minutes before unanimously said yes, and we bought the dessert. So I've told that story a lot of times. On Friday, we were having lunch there again, and I had this very amazing young lady waiting on us, and so we were completely stuck. We really were very full. And she came over and she goes, would you be interested in dessert? She tells us what they were, and they all sounded really good. And I was like, you know what? No, I physically cannot eat another bite. She goes, you know, I hear that our desserts taste better at home.
Ooh.
And I was like, oh my God. So she walks away and she comes back, and I was like, we truly are not going to get the dessert, but I want to ask you a question. Who trained you all here? And what is it with the dessert? Because I told her the story of the 6, and I was like, and now you just said this saying, you were like, I hear they taste better at home. I was like, what is it? She goes, our manager is really good with like those closing deals at the end. I was like, amazing.
Yeah. And hey, let's circle this back. I'll bet you $1 to a donut. I don't know where that expression ever came from, but I'll bet you they role played that.
Oh, it was so fluid off of her tongue, 100%. Yes.
And that's the key. It's only fluid off your tongue when you practice it. Mm-hmm. And when you practice it enough, then it sounds like it's just coming off the top of your head.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's the authenticity part of that. I got one more thing in it, because I remember, and in doing just a little research, I saw that you said, and forgive me if I'm off on what I'm saying here right now, but that you say that there's different types of consultations that people should have. So,
Yes.
is there a fact that there's different consultations that you would prescribe, and what are they,
Absolutely.
and how would you integrate them?
There's the first time guest. If they come in for the first time, you really do need to give them the time. So, don't ask them negative questions. What do you hate about your hair? Don't do that. That's when you're asking for a death trap right there. What do you love about your hair? What would make you happy? If I could give you one thing, cut or color today, I know you're down for both, but if I could change one thing that would make you completely happy, what would it be? And keeping it positive. We all know, don't consult through the mirror. That's not good either.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
breaking the human connection. So be in front of them at eye level. I really want to make you happy today. This is what I heard you say. I heard you say that you would like to go blonder. You're not necessarily tied to the idea of cool tone highlights. You like them to be a little bit more buttery. That's what I heard from you. And we discussed your budget. So I feel like we would do great with a partial highlight today. So going through that. On their next time in, you don't have to go through that again. You've already gotten to know them. How was the color experience last time? How did everything hold up? By the way, how did you enjoy those products? I know you took the shampoo and conditioner home last time. You're going to love that. We'll use that again on your hair today. And today, I felt really badly, but I'm going to teach you a couple of techniques to style your hair at home with 2 styling products that I know you're also going to love.
Ah,
So before we even put the color on their head or take them back to have their shampoo experience, we've already done the consultation. So there's 2 forms, your new guest, your existing guest, and then there should always be room for the virtual consultation. So many people are overlooking this virtual consultation that can be done very easily, even through your Instagram app. There's a dial feature there where you can set up a time to call them. You can do it through Zoom if you don't want to give out a personal number. But asking them, what is your budget? You could even create a questionnaire. If you have a service where they're texting for appointments, everybody has different booking systems. An online system where you could set up an automated email. Automation is everything. We're in 2023. Everything is automated and will become more automated.
mm-hmm.
Asking them their beauty budget. What do they use in their hair? What products they currently have in their shower? When is the last time they colored their hair on their own? And getting all this detail, but getting that done up front is going to save you a headache and save them the embarrassment if they come in for a real life consultation and number one, they can't afford you or
Yeah.
you can't perform the service desired. Especially many of our customers now come from out of state. So before they make a large investment into you, make sure that you truly are the provider for them. The easiest way, Chris, to do this and getting the right people to you is really branding yourself through social media.
Mm.
Out there now, and I'm not bashing anyone at all. I just think it would be really nice if we were a little bit more aware and less tone deaf with how we're using our social media. The boundaries, the cancellations, the late policy, all the things. We all can talk about that all day long. It frustrates every one of us. I get that completely. But just know, when it comes down to those conversations and consultation, like if you charge someone's credit card for not showing, I have a credit card. I have lots of credit cards, especially American Express. I can dispute a charge on a service I didn't receive and not pay for it.
Right.
So just understanding like what's productive in our industry, what's not productive in our industry, and not getting on the social media trends of what the quote unquote cool kids are doing on social media and doing what's right and ethical. When you do that, my gosh, the level of success that you can touch is literally like beyond.
Yeah, yeah. And what I'm loving that you're hitting on, there's a degree of uh, ethics that fit in here. I remember when we first started our businesses way back in 100 years ago in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and we had a salon called the Baran, and we had this you did all your advertising via catch this, a phone book, and you
Oh,
also
yes.
would do it by TV ads and by newspaper ads. And I had this company that came in and said, well, it works great if you can give some kind of a guarantee. And I said, we will do an unconditional guarantee that if you don't like what we give you, you don't have to pay.
Yes.
And they went, no, that you can't do that. You have to have some conditions on. I went, no, I want just unconditionally. If you don't like the service that you've received, you don't have to pay. And they said, well, no, somebody can come in and just say, well, I don't like your hair. And you could excuse me, you didn't have to pay. Well, I said, well, it's fine. Then that would be fine, but try to get an appointment again then. But the reality is I just think that people are, I've seen so many of these things on our social media lately about, we have a 24-hour appointment and somebody phoned in that was, had COVID and they demanded that they pay. Well, I think that there's a certain amount of respect that goes on in our industry. And I think we have to have a certain amount of humanity as well. That's what I love that you were talking about in there, is just respect the guest that's coming back time and time again. I remember going to visit this young kid, Greg, here in Phoenix, that was cutting my hair. And on the way there, I was involved in a traffic accident. And I've always been the one that said, listen, I just phoned him up, said, Greg, I've been in an accident. I can't make it there. I'll pay for the service because I was on the way there and I knew he couldn't get another client. And I said, look, I'll pay for the service. I'll double it up when I come in the next time. And he said, no problem. He says that that was not your fault. You couldn't have helped it. And, it just meant all the worth that came out of that was incredible, just by saying, look, no, it's okay.
We as human beings want everyone to have grace with us, but do we return the favor?
Yeah. And to that, I've had this built in for later, but I think it just fits right now. You do a lot of work with charitable organizations, and
yes.
And I love, there's something that I want to touch on that, but just so I don't forget, is I read somewhere that when you teach some people how to make these 6-figure numbers, you do a clever ask with them.
I do.
Could you tell us a little bit about that, and a little bit about
You've really done your homework. I love this. So yes, I always ask people if I can help get you to where you're going to do the work. I'm just going to show you the path. All the principles that I teach everywhere. Like, if I show you how to do this, I guarantee you I can get you to 6 figures with a blindfold on. Like, it's super easy. I need you to commit to me that you're going to do a favor, because you never had that money before. You were living completely fine before you made this money. So I always say, pinky promise me that you're going to give a portion of that money back to a greater good. Our world is broken, Chris. There are people that are struggling everywhere. There's children that, here in this area, 1 out of 4 children, and I'm in a very affluent area, 1 out of 4 children are not getting food to eat. That's so hard for me to comprehend. I had 2 lunches today, right? So I can't comprehend that there's a child that's hungry. There are children right now that are spilling over in hospitals with all sorts of illnesses. We donate back to childhood cancer research. That's something that we're passionate about. There are people that are homeless, domestic. There's so many causes out there that people just need someone to help them. And, a lot of times when we're in our sunny day, when everything's really good for us, we might think that everybody's having a sunny day. But just because my day is sunny doesn't mean that someone else is going through the worst storm of their life.
Yeah.
And, and one day those will flip. I'll have a really stormy day, and I'll hope somebody will listen to me, and that I've planned well enough that I don't need help that way, but I'll always need an ear or compassion. So I fully understand. People ask me all the time, like, why are you always so happy? I'm always dancing around inside of our salon. Any of my team, I'm sure they're going to watch and hear this. They'll tell you that I'm constantly dancing around and like loving on everybody. And in fact, they call me everybody's hype man. Because you never know when somebody just needs that little bit of lift. But financially, people do need our help. And they're crazy. I could tell you story after story after story. But what I know from all the stories that I can't share today is, once you give something away, so much more will come back to you. It's fascinating to see how that works. So I don't give to get. I give because that's what I'm called to do. And this business has allowed me a lot of financial freedom to be able to help a lot of people. Yeah.
There's some books out there that I'd recommend everybody to read, which is along this line. And they're called, being a go-giver instead of a go-getter.
I love that.
And that fits right to what you're talking about, is we've got to learn to give first. The universe abhors a vacuum. So if you can add something in somewhere, like if you give an idea, give some money, do some whatever, the universe will make sure that's replaced.
every
and
time.
I so am just even emotional just thinking about what you do to help people and say, look, I can help you get those six figures, but you got to make this little
Yeah,
pinky swear with me that gives some of that back, do some good with that money.
yeah, of
A
course.
young kid out of Canada, I helped to coach him one time, and he said, my dad said, here's a check. What do you want to pay? I said, no, I don't want anything. All I want you to do is when some young kid later in your life comes up to you and wants help, you help that person and don't charge them. So,
That's exactly
you know,
right.
God bless you for that, my friend. Now we kind of hit onto this six-figure stylist thing right now, and you said, "Look, it's so damned easy that you can do it with blindfolds on,
Literally.
but yet so many people are not there." And I'm looking through my notes here because um, I want to make sure that I get this point up. Is that um, and I've written all these fantastic notes now. I haven't went at one. I don't even know where they are. Here's where it is. But being a six-figure stylist, and everybody right now is talking about, particularly in the last 2 to 3 years from all the world
Yes.
events that happen, that everybody is saying, that I want work-life balance.
Yes. And
And
you
I
can have
also
it.
read, I'd love you to tell from why, what sneaky looking arounds, if you want to call that research, I think by other names, that you adapted a lot of that work-life balance into the way you shifted rather than asking all the other people to shift. Like
Yeah. That's my
I'm a
job as
baby
a
boomer,
leader.
so I expect everybody should, my former think was you got to work from 7 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, but people don't want that anymore. How did you
No.
adjust for your those people in there? Because I'm hearing that about work-life balance and that nobody can get clients. How do you adjust?
Wow. Well, I can tell you we're doing it right here in Atlanta, Georgia. And our company is at this moment right now, I can't tell you how many people work inside of our company because there are so many. But what I can tell you is that we are being forced to open a second location. So we're actually going to close next month on another building because we physically can't fit any longer in the building.
Yeah.
And that's because we've kind of cracked the code. We know how this works. And me being behind the chair is what allows the credibility. Like I'm doing this and I'm trying all these things out on myself first. I think as a leader, our job is leadership. A lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm a leader." If you said that, ew.
Yeah.
Leadership for me is a calling, and I take it as a very serious responsibility. Everything that I do in that company, good or bad, it trickles down to the people that I love and care about inside those
Mm-hmm.
walls. And so Jody, my husband, and I, we really just went through and started looking at what was not going to work any longer. And we were from the old school of you. We used to work 9 in the morning till 7 at night, 5 days a week. On the weekends, go get some more. And you don't have to do that anymore. Social media has opened so much opportunity for us. You don't have to go market the way that you used to. You can really post really beautiful work and attract your audience and vibe if you're doing it the correct way. And aside from that, we just started looking at our team and having really serious conversations with them. What would make you happy? If
Mm.
you had the ideal schedule, what would that look like? So we operate a commission salon, and I know a lot of people are like, "Oh my gosh, commission salons are terrible." And yes, you're right. A lot of them are. A lot of them are. And I'm trying my best to coach as many of them as I can right now to kind of rewrite how it's been done for so long because everything's changed. So right now I can brag, and I know she will listen to this. So I can brag about one of my stylists. She works 18 hours a week. So she works 6 hours, 3 days a week. She works 18 hours a week, and she is a 300 plus $1,000 a year hairdresser inside our company. 18 hours a week. Blanca, that she just went on the floor as a stylist. January 15th was her 1 year anniversary of being a stylist. Absolutely amazing. I had the opportunity to mentor her for a year behind the chair after school, and then she went onto the floor as a stylist. She did $96,000 her first year as a stylist, and so we're having massive explosion inside of our salon of people that are working very minimal hours and having six-figure incomes. And then the question will come, someone's listening or watching right now, well, is that they're making six figures, or is that they're taking home six figures? They're taking home six figures.
Yeah.
So just to go ahead and answer that question for you, because our human mind is to go to the negative. Well, that's not possible. It's completely possible because we're doing it. And so work-life balance, I remember sitting down with a couple of our kids in the salon when they were turning 21, and we would literally say to them, hey, what if, I want you to think about this, but what if we put you on a schedule that you worked on Friday from 8 o'clock until 2 o'clock, and then you go home and have an amazing Friday, take a nap, go do your makeup, go out and have the best time of your life, be responsible, of course, and then come in for the late shift on Saturday, but go out on Friday night, have fun with your friends, because I know that's what I wanted to do when I was 21. They're literally looking at you like you have six heads. They're like, you don't want me in the salon? What? Is this a trick? I'm like, no, you're 21. Go be 21. And, if the people, the moms had children that were playing soccer or baseball or lacrosse on Saturdays, be off. Go do your thing. The salon, we were able to change it all around. And so we have total flexibility inside of our company. And that does allow. Another thing that we did in our company is we don't have talking in the shampoo area. So there's no talking while the customers are being shampooed. The room is exclusive. It sits by itself independently, and it is actually part of our spa experience. The reason I did that, number one, was for our customers to be able to have a place where they could actually just escape. But also for the people, my team, sometimes they just need 5 minutes not to have to listen to somebody or to have to talk. So the music is very relaxing in that room. It smells amazing in that room. And we're working on right now creating something for mindfulness for our team, where we have this beautiful courtyard area outside where they can actually go outside, and the chairs and the scenery around them will be good for their mindset. And so I think that we're just in a new day, and mental wellness for everyone is so important. It's crucial. We need to find that happy. I mean, we're not going to be happy all the time because we are human. But if I can create a happy environment for my team to come to work, and I can create a happy environment for the guests to come to, and it's relaxed, then that's a wonderful thing. I had last week, one of my stylists, actually this has happened twice recently, but one I will talk about. She says, I love coming to work so much because it's the only place I can feel loved and truly happy.
Wow. That's happy and sad at the same time.
It's heartbreaking from the other side of it. But it's our jobs. If I can't control what happens outside of the salon, but I am responsible for what happens inside that salon. And if I can create that happy space for them to be there, to enjoy coming to work. And now, like I said, I don't know the exact number, but we're over 70 in this one location. And
Can I ask you how many people, what percentage of the people that are working, if let's say whatever there is, 50, 60, 70, 100, what percentage of those, how would you rate them? Because I'm sure this is a question that everybody's wondering as well. You're talking about six-figure stylists. Mm-hmm. I want to talk about yours in just a minute, because yours is not six figures. I will put a little suspense in there for other people. But what percentage would you say of your team that's on the floor, obviously doing hair, what percentage of them are earning or close to six figures?
Oh my gosh. A lot.
Just wild stat.
Not sure. A lot. 20 at least. And when I say 70 plus employees, we have a spa, we have front desk team, we have associates, we have everything. So a lot of them are. And that allows me to do more things. I get so giddy and excited. Selling retail is like the happiest thing in the world to me. I love to sell retail. My team, they love to sell retail. A lot of people are like, yeah, you like selling retail because it makes the salon owner rich. So Chris, I'll tell you what we do with our retail. We actually have in place a 401k retirement plan for our team, where we give them 4% match. We also have health benefits for them, and they have access for their families too if they need that. We do global experiences every year where we take people out of the country. Those typically are around $10,000 per person. We just took, I think there were 7 or 8 of us that went to London, and now there's a really large group that we're taking to Barcelona in May. So we try to give back as much as we can. So that retail, yes, is making our customers look amazing, but that also allows me to spoil this team to death,
Yeah.
which I really get excited about.
Yeah. I want to just jump back in here because there was something that I mean, we all know that right now, I'm not even going to hazard to put a guess on what the percentages of it would be, but we have a program or a private website based called Salon Team Training, and on there we just ask 3 questions like, what's your name, what's your email address, what's one question we can do to help you, and I'm going to take a wild stab that about 40 to 50% of the question that's asked is, how do I get staff? How do I retain my staff? How do I get them from quitting on me? And when I hear that, that it's like, or they'll say things like they want work-life balance. They don't want to work on, how do I get my staff to work on a Saturday? Things as such. And I think that,
what are you doing to make Saturdays fun?
Or give them Saturdays off. I mean, I've talked to so many salon owners. They said Saturday is one of the least busy days that they have now, or it used to be the busiest.
Monday's the new Saturday.
Yeah. So what are you doing to make to accommodate these young people? I loved earlier what you said about is that there's these people that won't change. And I wonder, is it that they're ignorant of, and I don't mean stupid, I just mean ignorant that they don't know what to change? Mm-hmm. Or is it that they just won't change and they're digging their heels in, waiting for the world to try to change to them rather than them to change to the world?
Sadly, it's the latter. There's a lot of that. It's like, well, I've always done it this way. Well, and I've said this 1,000 times, Blockbuster Video always did things the same way too.
Yeah.
And then Netflix came into town. So we have to be fresh. And I'll tell you the coolest thing. Our company right now, our biggest explosion of new hires, and I wish Jody were in the room right now with me so that he could tell you how many actual interviews he does per week of people begging for jobs inside of our company. Last week, and they'll either do a virtual or email. Like, we'll kind of fill them out first, but then if we really like them, we bring them through the salon. Last week, I know I saw over 5 people come through our company looking just to do anything, like whatever job they could get. It wasn't a stylist. Actually, no, we did have one stylist additionally, but people want to work. Yeah. The majority of the people that have come to work inside of our company have come from out of state because they've seen that there's something different happening here. They just want to be celebrated. Look, the real secret to all success in any business in the whole world is connection. Just connect with your people. Listen to them. Listen to their needs. It's very simple. And when people ask me, we have salon owners constantly coming through our salon. We do coaching days. And the other week, it was one of the funniest days because we had an overlook in planning that day. So we have salon owners or stylists that will come in and watch how we work. And so that day we had 2 salon owners from Austin, Texas in. So we were kind of dedicating the time with them throughout the salon. But simultaneously, we had a salon from Dublin, Georgia, which is south of Savannah. So that's about 4 hours away. They closed their salon. It was on a Thursday. They closed their salon, rented a large vehicle for all of them to be transported in. And the owners paid for them. And this happens typically 3 or 4 times a year from salons where they pay to bring their staff to our salon to experience what it's like to be a customer. And so we had 2 salons in at the same time. And it was just kind of funny for the people that were visiting from the coaching side to see what was happening. They're like, oh my gosh, people really do come here like Disney World all the time. I'm like, yeah, we would bring through 100 salons in a year, through what we're doing. But it's very simple to just show up and make it different. The old-timey staff meetings, those things are beaten to death. There's color bowls in the sink every time I look. We know. We get it. Some people are messy and some people are clean. Some people are going to be your top performers in the company. Some are not going. It's okay. Yeah. But to beat the whole staff up in a staff meeting over a dirty color bottle or towels. So we celebrate. Our meetings are so fun. Chris, I wish you could come to one. They're on a Friday morning. We have one a month. And they're from 9 o'clock until 10 o'clock. When I tell you at 10 o'clock, when that meeting's over and like 10:02, the customers are pouring in, like they're flying all through the salon. The energy in that place is beyond electric. It's like being, I don't go to sports events, but I've seen them on TV. It's like being your winning team just won, and the excitement of that team. That's what it feels like in the company. And until people start focusing, we can focus on metrics all day long, and you can
Yeah.
coach numbers all day long. But until we start to focus on the people, coach the behaviors, and celebrate the wins and lift people up in our companies, it's going to stay the same. So we have to change the mindset. When you change the mindset, you're going to change the results.
Yeah. Leah Freeman's dad, I'm pretty sure you know Leah. I think Leah's.
I'm obsessed with Leah Freeman.
Oh, she is. She's amazing. She's an amazing woman, amazing colorist. But there's a line that sticks with me forever. Her dad, who manages their salon, always said that their staff, they termed, these are salon meetings, not staff. Now catch this. He called them staff infections.
Oh,
there is not allowed to be a staff infection. So in other words, you're not allowed to come and say, here's the problem. Nah, look at this, poor me. You got to come in with a solution. Say, look, here's what I think is happening. And I think if we did X, Y, Z, that this would turn this around. So it's got to be turned around so it's positive, no staff infections. And that one stayed with me forever.
It's good. And look at what they did during the pandemic.
Yeah.
When they came back.
Yeah.
She opened up a boutique inside the salon so that her staff could make higher commissions and money off the sales. This is somebody that was thinking outside of the box. Leah Freeman is not only probably one of the greatest colorists that has ever graced our presence on this earth. She's so knowledgeable. She's a powerhouse of a business lady. So I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And a strong, strong woman, I might add, at the same time. So listen, wow. I've got a couple. First of all, I want to ask you this: is that I think you've already given me a little bit of insight into this, but we always have people in our lives that have done something, did something, saw something in us that other people or we might not have seen in ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Who are those people for you?
That have seen in me?
Yeah, like somebody that saw something in you, helped to promote you, helped to get you up to a next level. You know, sometimes even if you had to go kicking and screaming.
Yeah. So, the companies that I work with right now, L'Oreal Professional it is so solid. Like my leadership that I'm lucky enough to work around, and I won't say under because they truly are leaders. They're so inspiring. But I'll have to say, when my entire career pivoted in education, it's kind of a bizarre story, but I was teaching a class in Nashville, Tennessee at a really beautiful salon. And there was a salon-centric sales rep, business partner at the time, that was seated front row. And she wasn't taking notes, but everybody else was just taking notes. They were writing and writing. I was given all this information on how to do all the things. And I asked her, I was like, is there a reason you're not taking notes? And she goes, oh, well, I don't have a pen or paper. And I was like, I'll fix that. So I handed her some paper, and all I had was an orange Sharpie. And I was like, here, take my Sharpie. And she started writing notes. And it was an amazing day. The people were just fantastic. And we finished the class. I left the class like I often do. I just leave the class and I go to the next thing. Didn't think any more about it. Of course, I was grateful for the opportunity. And about a year later, I got a Facebook message from that particular sales rep. And she says, I just want to thank you for handing me, I can't remember exactly, I still have it on my phone, for handing me the orange Sharpie and making me take notes. I always had a dream of being in the $1 Million Club as a sales rep. And she was not there, but she got there that year. She followed the principles of everything that I teach to salons and stylists, and she put it to work for her own self. And the mathematics all work out the same. So during that time, salon-centric, I guess, was maybe watching behind scenes, like, how did your sales explode? And she's like, oh my God, I went to this guy's class named Daniel Mason Jones, and he made me write down notes, and it changed my life. And so here she was. So salon-centric, Brittany Hickman, she was AVP of education. Okay. And she was watching behind scenes. We had never met. And so she reaches out and she goes, hey, I would love to book you for a couple of classes. And I was like, okay, cool. I just need to make sure with L'Oreal that it's okay. But I was able to, and I started teaching, and I was invited to the Salon-Centric National Sales Conference, where I got to watch that particular sales rep take her $1 Million Club award and meet her at the end of the stage. And even now it gives me goosebumps. It was such an amazing thing. So, they were watching me on social media this whole time. So what I want to say, Chris, is that was all cool. I'm grateful. She single-handedly changed my life, no question. But when we put things on social media and how we behave in day-to-day life is so important. And so, me, we've been together many times. I'm always going to be the same Daniel. You're always the same Chris. You're like the teddy bear that everybody wants to give a hug to. So I think that is so important when we think about our social media. Even if you have a day where you don't feel so great and your mental wellness isn't exactly where you need to be, I would refrain from posting anything bad because you never know.
Yeah.
Number one, you could affect someone else negatively. But aside from that, you never know who's watching you and what breakthrough is just coming your way. So I'm forever grateful for the people that did believe in me and that do believe in me. And now there's people that speak my name in rooms that I'm unaware of. And I'm grateful for those people and those opportunities. But so you never know who's watching. So for me, it was the brands and Brittany that really
that's awesome.
put me where I am today.
That's awesome. And it's the other thing is I remember posting one thing one time. I've always been a big advocate of don't post anything that you don't really think that somebody might take wrong. Yeah. But also some things you find funny, other people don't find funny. Yeah. And I remember posting one thing one time and it was, I've got a bit of a sarcastic sense of humor. I'm Canadian of sorts. And I remember somebody posted back that, there's the real Chris Baran. And so that one stuck with me forever because it was purely out of context, out of no intention. So I learned a lesson there. Never post something that even one person could find offensive, So, okay, quick permission here.
Go for it.
I've got some rapid fire stuff I want to throw out at you.
Let's go.
First stuff that comes to your mind. Doesn't have to, it can be short, can be long, whatever. Okay. Wow. I don't know why I've got this one right at the beginning. Most difficult time in your life.
Oh my gosh. That's a therapy session. Most difficult time of my life was just growing up, being me, not being able to be me. And especially from the community that I grew up in and the family, I could never be me because if I were me, then I would be rejected. And so when I finally did find the power to be me, exactly what my worst fear was happened. And so that was the hardest thing, being shunned from a community of people that were supposed to be good and walk around as good do-gooders of the world and carrying the light. All I found was hate and darkness. So that was really hard for me. So that's why I'm committed every day of my life to showing up to love people bigger and better because I don't know how to
love that. Love that. Sometimes, and I don't know the full story behind that, but I think sometimes if they weren't there, if they were there when they didn't need you, when you didn't need them, but they weren't when you didn't, then it's just as well they're gone. Mm-hmm. Event or show that you loved. Just what first thing comes to my mind. I'm sure there's many, but
Lake
show
Geneva,
or event that came to your mind. If it changed you, whatever.
Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. That show was fantastic. It's small, it's intimate, and the people are so kind.
And what was it in there? What was it that you loved about it?
Just the people, how they show up. They're so excited for education. They're showing up an hour early for class with their notebooks. They're ready to take notes. And they're just genuinely there. They're not there for a coattail ride. They just want to learn. They're hungry.
Love it. Been there and I love that show. Okay. Things, and this is just in industry and life as a whole, things that you hate. Strong word, but things that you hate. Think that really turn you off.
Hate. Laziness comes to mind right away. I can't stand laziness. I am an anti-racist. I can't stand any sort of bigotry and racism. People are people. And we have to, Chris, let me ask you this question. Anybody that's listening, have you ever been made to feel uncomfortable around people?
Yes.
And not accepted?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel good. So we should never do that to anyone else. We should always let people know that they're important and they're loved.
Yeah. Bless you on that, my friend. Things you love the most.
Food. And family.
You and I are friends forever.
But I love food too.
Okay. Things that in the creative process, what turns you on? What really makes you creative?
Definitely architecture.
Oh,
Yeah.
What stifles it?
I can't be around clutter, if that makes sense. I don't like clutter. I like everything to be clean and neat.
Yeah, neat and tidy.
Yeah.
Okay, the things that you hate most about our industry.
The I'm gonna have to read this to you because it came to my mind and I hope it makes sense. I put it in my phone the other night. I wrote this down because I'm planning on doing a podcast around this topic, or at least a post. It's always interesting when the ones that can't do it tell the ones that could do it that they shouldn't do it. So when you have people that are telling people they can't do it, or they shouldn't have retail, or they shouldn't do this, or they don't take someone else's opportunity away because you couldn't do it.
Yeah. Or is it just jealousy because you couldn't?
Yeah, or you don't want to see someone do better than you. Yeah,
exactly.
Everybody can do anything.
Yeah. Person that you admire the most?
Oh gosh, that's tough. My husband's amazing. Without him, I couldn't do any of the things that I do. He handles everything behind scenes. He's kind of the guy that goes unnoticed, but without him, I wouldn't be able to do any of these opportunities.
Isn't it always the background person? That's like Rita for me. So God bless Jody. Okay, a person you wish that you could meet.
Dead or alive?
Anybody.
Martin Luther King, hands down.
Oh, hands down. Okay. I know you speak language. You speak Spanish.
Yes.
Is there any other languages?
So I dabble in a lot of languages because my clientele is very diverse. And right now I'm doing a lot of education globally. So I've been working on Arabic, which is kind of cool. And I have a few words in Russian, a little bit in Portuguese. I don't know. I think language and culture is the most fascinating thing. I wish I could learn something from everybody because everybody's so freaking amazing. Yeah,
that's amazing. Okay, here it is. And this is something, I don't know if you even take it, but I'm snapping my fingers. When I snap your fingers, you automatically have a month off where you can go anywhere and do anything. What would that be?
Oh, Lord. I would go to Europe, hands down. I don't know where that would be. Anywhere in Europe. It makes me happy always. And I would take my son and husband and we would just go sightsee and taste as many things as we can.
Love it. Okay, good. Something you're terrified of?
Oh, germs.
Germs.
Yes. And airplanes.
Yes, thank you. Well, they kind of go part and parcel, don't they?
They do.
Okay, good. Favorite curse word?
No.
No?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. That curse word. That's a curse word to you.
Word. It hurts people worse than any other word in the language.
Oh, I love that. That's the best one so far. Favorite comfort food?
Peanut butter. Anything with peanut butter.
Oh, yes. And only if you can put peanut butter with the peanut butter.
All day.
Something in the industry that you haven't done but want to.
Ooh. I don't know. That's a tough one. I can't think of anything else that I would want to do more of what I've done before. I would like to reach more people. Actually, you know what? To teach a class in Japan. There you go.
Oh, love it. Okay, a do-over. Okay, if you had a do-over on anything in your life, what would it be?
When I first opened our salon, probably for the first 10 years. Now, granted, some of these people are still with me. A lot of them are. But I wish I could go back and know what I know now, because I took things way so seriously back then, and it's just not that serious.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, somebody says tomorrow you wake up in the morning and somebody tells you you can't do hair anymore, can't be involved in the business anymore. What would you do?
Die.
Well, I hope that's not true.
No, I don't know what I would do. You know what? If I could do anything in the world, I would volunteer probably with children with cancer, or I would absolutely love to work in a hospice facility and just visit the people that don't have much time and get their stories and just love on them.
You and Chris Sorby would get along so well because that's what she does as well.
I've never met or talked to her before.
Oh, no, you'd love it. She's an amazing individual. Okay, now just very quick. Oh, God, look at this. I don't know where the hell this time went to, but I've got two quick questions.
Sure.
One wish. If you could have one wish for our industry, and if you could wave this supposed magic wand, get rid of something, do something, do one wish for our industry, what would it be?
I wish our industry would take a step back, just take a deep breath, realize how amazing you are and the difference that you can make, but not take it so seriously and put the egos on the back burner.
Oh, good on you. Okay. And what's one thing that people that are listening or watching should let go of or stop doing?
Stop the judgment. If you can just stop judging, we are human. We all do it, but just stay in your lane. Whenever I find myself not liking something, if I walk up and I see a person and I think, I don't know about that person, it's always something I don't like about myself that I see.
Yeah.
Always. So when we learn Taylor Swift just has a new song, I'm like, it's me, I'm the problem, it's me. Most of the time, that's where all the problems start and end. So don't take yourself so seriously. Life is short. Let's have fun. Be kind. Hairdressing is the coolest freaking business in the world. You can make so much money. You can travel the world. You can have tattoos on your face and still be a billionaire. There's nothing you can't do. So have fun with it and don't be a jerk on social media or in real life.
Yeah. Oh, please and thank you. Please and thank you. Daniel Mason Jones, I love you as an individual. I love you as a hairdresser, and I can't wait to even just sit down and quaff a bevy with you or two or have dinner sometime just to be there and just to feed off of your vibe because you're such an amazing human being. So I just want to, from the bottom of my heart, for all the listeners and people watching out there, I just want to say thank you for being on Headcases. It was an absolute honor.
Thank you. It was an honor for me too, and that was the quickest hour of my life.
Bingo. So one more time, my friend, thank you so much. I can't wait to get together and do more. And I think that we covered so much in here. I can't wait down the line. I want to have you back on here again.
I would be honored. Thank you so much, Chris. You're an amazing soul.
Oh, bless you for that, my friend. Thank you.